Hello, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshat Vayigash, in which we find that there is a total count of Bnei Israel, the sons of Yaakov and Yaakov's family, who go down to Mitzrayim. The pasuk says that they were Shivim Nefesh. Now, we're going to discuss today quickly, how do we get to this number 70? And once we get to this number 70 also, after we've discussed that, we're going to try and see what the Ramban has to say on the nature of miracles in the Torah, and when the Torah lists miracles. How do we get there? In order to get to number 70, the Psukim lists out all the sons of the four Imahot, meaning that, not four Imahot, I should rephrase that, the two Imahot, Rachel and Leah, and they're also further wives of Yaakov, were Bilhah and Zilpah, and altogether we find that the descendants of those families created 70 total people. That's what the pasuk reads. The pasuk reads Shivim Nefesh. Now, in order to understand how we get to 70, we could count up the number of names, and one can notice that one gets to one short of 70. So what do we understand from here, or where can we go from there? It's brought down in Chazal, in the Midrash, that this number 70 was possibly Yocheved. Yocheved, it says over here, the Ramban quotes the Midrash, that Yocheved was born in the entrance to Mitzrayim. As they were passing through to Mitzrayim, on the way down there, Yocheved was born, creating the number 70 that the Torah lists. Now, the Ramban raises a question. Now that we have gone to this number 70, and much more to be discussed on how we get to 70 exactly, though once we get to 70, and we say that the 70th is Yocheved, the Ramban brings the question of the Ibn Ezra. The Ibn Ezra asked the question, how could it be that Yocheved is number 70? If we count that Yocheved is number 70, and she was born when Bnei Israel first went down to Mitzrayim, that would mean that she gave birth to Moshe practically at the age of 150. And there, Ibn Ezra writes, if Yocheved gave birth to Moshe at the age of 150 and she was having children at that age, that without a doubt is a miracle. It's a huge miracle. Ibn Ezra asks, it's such a large miracle, how could this not be mentioned? If we have the births of Abraham and Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak at such a late age, and the Torah goes to such an extent to explain the miracle, then Ibn Ezra asked the question, if Yocheved was this old, why doesn't the Torah list that she gave birth? And when she gave birth, that it was a miracle? The Torah seems to leave this out. So with that, Ibn Ezra concludes that it must not be the case that the Midrash is saying that Yocheved is number 70. Ibn Ezra explains that we can't really understand this fully, meaning that the Ibn Ezra gives a different answer. He doesn't disagree. He doesn't exactly agree with this number 70 being Yocheved, and he explains that it could be Yaakov himself. Now, the Ramban gives a different explanation. The Ramban says it could very well be that Yocheved is number 70. And here's where we discuss the nature of miracles in the opinion of the Ramban. The Ramban writes, it's very possible that Yocheved is number 70. If we're going with that assumption, now how come Torah doesn't mention this? The Ramban writes that many places in the Torah we have miracles. And the Torah specifically lists when certain miracles happen and enumerates them as miracles. So the Ramban gives us one important principle. The Ramban writes that when it comes to miracles, so much of nature is a miracle. The Torah doesn't list every single miracle. The Torah lists, the Ramban writes, miracles from two categories. I'll read it inside. Ki anisim hanaasim alidei navi she'nave ken mitchila u'malach nigla b'malachot Hashem yazkirim hakatuv. The Ramban writes that when a certain nevuah comes true, and a navi says something, a miracle will occur, the Torah lists it as a miracle. As well, when it comes to something that a malach reveals in a dream, or something that will come true, this is also considered a miracle. The Torah specifically enumerates as a miracle. Now, that could maybe explain what happens with Abraham and Sarah, we could say, with their giving birth being a miracle that was announced by angels, the malachim that visited Abraham and Sarah. Furthermore, what we're going to conclude over here, the Ramban is explaining that Yocheved can be the 70th. And it was a miracle that she gave birth to Moshe and Aaron and Miriam at such a later stage in her life, such an elderly stage. Though the Ramban writes it's nonetheless a miracle, and the Psukim do not have to enumerate as a miracle, as so much of nature is a miracle, the Ramban writes. So much of what we take for granted can also be understood as a miracle. There is much more to discuss in this, though perhaps that principle can emerge in something that we could take a lesson from to appreciate the miracles in everyday life, as the Ramban enumerates, and to show how so much of life can be a miracle, something for us all to take to heart, hopefully, and enjoy a nice Shabbos with this message. Shabbat Shalom.